Welcome back to another episode of the Real One Garage podcast, the podcast where we are all about keeping it real. No gatekeeping, no hype, just grassroots talking about car enthusiasts and the automotive industry. My name is Jamal, and I'm your host, and we're back for another episode. This episode is, as I promised, about the Japan trip that I had back in March 2023. Again, it's been about 3 years since then. And I think it's about time we talk about that. Basically, on the agenda, I just wanted to basically go through what I had to do to get to Japan, how my Japan trip was, the do's and don'ts of what you should do in Japan, some prep for Japan, and then just obviously the amazing time I had in regards to the culture when it comes to actual Japanese culture, historical basis, and everything like that. And then also the automotive world, the car enthusiast world, what I got to enjoy and the amazing people I got to meet on that amazing trip. So, first things first, time frame. I believe, and I actually got this information from quite a few people who live in Japan, one being my friend Albo, that optimally you should try to shoot for about a 3 week stay. Minimum, what I would do, which is what I did, is 2 weeks. But 3 weeks would give you a good, adequate amount of time to enjoy yourself and not potentially be rushing through things. You can do a week, but when you do a week, you have to take in consideration that 28 hours, depending on where you were coming from. In this case, I was coming from Toronto, Canada to Japan. That is a 28-hour amount of time of travel, not including, getting out of the airport and getting in and checking through customs and stuff. So that's going to take out of your trip. So that's why I'd say minimum 2 weeks, optimally 3 weeks. Secondly, do some research about what you should do and what you shouldn't do while you're in Japan. Japan is a meticulously respectful and humble place when you go there. I think that's the reason why I've always been interested in going there. I actually prefer, before I even went on my Japan trip, back in 2000, I'd say 8, when I was still in university, my plan was to do very similarly to what Albo did, and that was to teach English in Japan. So I actually took Japanese for a bit, unsuccessfully absorbed the information. Unfortunately, I wasn't fully into it. But yes, I took Japanese for a bit, and I also took a Japanese culture course. So I basically took how to act respectfully. What are the traditional cultural do's and don'ts of Japan? Another shortcut that we now have available to us these days is YouTube. After I found out I was going to go to Japan, I looked up on YouTube and found a YouTuber by the name of Chris Abroad. I believe that's the name of the YouTube channel. He actually lives in Japan and gives you a play-by-play on what to do and what not to do in terms of the traditional respectful ways to handle yourself in Japan. One being so that they don't have trash cans everywhere like they do in North America. And I'm actually grateful that they don't, because the way that place is so clean, people just have an insane amount of pride and respect for keeping their place very, very, very clean and very presentable. And for the fact that you actually have to potentially take a backpack or a small bag, carry it around with you with your garbage until you can go and sort through your garbage to put it in the right trash bins at home or potentially at a konbini. So Chris Abroad, watch him, go on his YouTube channel. It's a plug for him. No, I'm not doing it for any kind of monetary gain. He's just generally a great person to reference in terms of how to act in Japan. Secondly, the other thing is travel. If you're not going to be driving, which I think you should try driving a little bit in Japan, but we'll get to that. If you're not going to be driving, the best thing to do is to get a JR pass. Now, JR passes have gone up in price a lot now since I went to Japan, because tourism wasn't as affluent when I went because of COVID, as opposed to now where everyone and their mother and brother and cousin are going. But I think it's still worth it. The reason being, a JR pass allows you to ride on the JR lines in Japan. There are a specific train line that honestly really take you everywhere you need to go. Now, you have the JR lines, you have the regular metro subways, and then you have the Shinkansen. Shinkansen is the bullet train. I'm sure you've heard of that. Most people have. I took the JR lines. Now, sometimes the JR lines are a little further away compared to the metro, which is the subway down below. But a 15-minute walk to a train station that pretty much is everywhere is nothing. And most people walk in Japan anyways, which is why they have maintained such a healthy physique. A little walking won't hurt you. It actually, you get to enjoy and take in the ambiance and the environment of all that Japan has to offer. So a JR pass would be definitely good to get. You need to get that potentially, I'd say, 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks prior to your actual trip. It gives it time for you to apply and for it to come in, and then for you just to have all your documents set up so you don't have any issues when you get to Japan. You go downstairs after, well, this is what I had to do. Once I got into Narita Airport, you go downstairs and you go to a kiosk. It does say JR on it, and you give them the documentation that you get for your JR pass. Then they give you a small card. I think I might have it here. Actually, it's right here. This is my JR pass. Can't really see it because of the glare. Sorry about that. See if I can fix that a little bit. I think you can see it a little there. There you go. It's a little blurry. But in any case, it has the date of your stay, because you actually put how long you're going to stay, and your price varies depending on how long you need the JR pass for. But this thing literally gets you everywhere in Japan. Foreigners can get, or gaijin can get these passes in order to travel and enjoy Japan. And not only does this get you on the JR lines, this also gets you on specific Shinkansens. So Shinkansen, for example, one-way ticket at the time I was going was about $140 Canadian. This JR pass in total for the 2-week time span that I had purchased it for was almost, I believe, just shy of $500 Canadian. A trip on the Shinkansen, buying a single ticket each way, was pretty much like 80% of the cost of what this was. So, and I could take this and use the Shinkansen or the JR lines unlimited. So this is what I would definitely recommend to use just to get your way around. Because if you do drive, which you can, the one thing you do need to realize is that when you drive, Japan has tolls everywhere. I would say, based on my experience when I was driving, it had tolls from every, I'd say, 15 to 20 kilometers to 30 kilometers, I say, there's a toll, or maybe even a shorter range. So that it gets expensive because you pay based on the size of the vehicle you drive, and it just gets expensive having to pay tolls every certain amount of stops you're making, and also depending on the distance and how far you're driving. When you take the Shinkansen, for example, I traveled approximately from Tokyo to Kyoto, which is about a 600-kilometer distance. So in Canadian references, that would be from like Toronto to Ottawa, or actually further, Toronto to Montreal in Quebec. That's about a 6-hour drive here and in Japan as well. It literally took me 2 hours on the Shinkansen to get 2.5 hours, maybe less, depending on, how smooth it is and the weather, to get to Tokyo to Kyoto and Osaka. You can't get it any better than that. So I would also recommend to do that. But that being said, also, if you are planning to drive because you are a JDM, a car enthusiast like myself, and you want to, rent a car, you can go to Omoshiroi Rental Car. They're in Chiba, and rent a car through them. Just make sure no racing. Drive respectably, because they are having way too many incidents these days in regards to people driving carelessly. It's actually putting a big dampener or a bad light on foreigners coming to Japan. You don't want that. We want to enjoy Japan for all the fruits that it has to offer and just continue going there, but be respectable. Respectable is the main thing to be. Humility is one of the pillars of Japan. Respect and humility, honor. Respect the fact that they're allowing you into their country to enjoy the fruits of their labors and enjoy what it has to offer. So drive respectably. But that being said, what you also want to do is get your international driver's license. Now, here in Canada, we use CAA as opposed to AAA, which is American, obviously, for the States. So here in Canada, we would go to any CAA store, and you'd bring your passport, and then you would be able to get your international driver's license for $35. They just take your picture, check your passport, and give you international driver's license. Have that somewhere. I'll show it. I'll probably put a picture up or something like that to show. So that being said, you get your international driver's license, and you're able to basically drive in Japan. Now, and also you needed to rent the car at Omoshiroi Rental Car. Now, I rented a GR Yaris while I was there. That was a great car. What I will say is, as I said, the tolls were surprising. Also, be aware, the other thing, be aware that Japan roads and laneways are a lot smaller than the North American laneways. You have, there's very small margin for error. And because the speed limits are so much lower than here in North America, Canada, or the United States, the chances of having accidents going at speeds that you usually would go here are a lot greater. So be respectable for the speeds. Read the brochure and instructions that Omoshiroi Rental Car or any rental company gives you to know what the stop signs are and know exactly what signs you have to watch out for, as well as even how to pump gas. So that would be my 2 cents on driving. Just make sure you're just, again, respectable. So just to kind of go a little bit more on the trip. So when I got to Japan, 13-hour flight. So I usually equate that to, I say, a 6-hour nap, so to speak, on the plane, and maybe about two good movies. Maybe you watch Avengers or something like that, and the Avatar, and then you'd be basically in Japan. You get to the airport. I got to the airport specifically, and then went through customs. It wasn't very hard. At the time, it was COVID, so I had reluctantly got the vaccine, so I got through pretty easy. But that being said, once you get out, I went downstairs, got my JR pass. It wasn't very long. It took me about 20-minute wait. It was a long lineup, but it didn't take long to get it. Once I got my JR pass, you could take the Narita line all the way into Central Tokyo Japan Station. I took that. It took about an hour. The train is meticulously clean. It's amazing. It's quiet. The other thing is, and you'll learn this if you watch the video for Chris Abroad in Japan, when you're on the train, please do not talk loudly on the train. Don't even talk on your phone if you can avoid it. It actually asks little Japanese animation cartoon signs not to be on your phone and talking. It's rude. Nobody wants to hear your conversation. You can always be patient, wait until you're off the train, find an area where it's not so, I guess you could say, public, a little bit outside of where everyone's walking, and make your calls then. But be very respectable. Everyone's very respectable. If they're listening or watching something on their phones, they all have earphones. Do not play it on your speaker. It asks not to do that. It creates displeasure on the ride. I actually wish they would incorporate that here, but unfortunately, we have a little bit too much entitlement here for the people that we have here. Next, once I got off the train in Tokyo Central Station, I was actually headed to Odawara. That's in the Kanagawa prefecture. I then took another train, and again, using the JR pass, I took another train to Odawara to meet a couple friends. Once I got down to Odawara, it was late at night. I met my friends. They drove me to the Airbnb that we had. Actually, I think I have a picture of that Airbnb. Generally, any place outside of Tokyo, you're gonna get a bigger place. Trying to see if I have a picture of I think it's actually right here. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. So for people who are just listening, I'm sharing my screen right now to show it's a picture of my place in Odawara. This was it. Yeah, this one. Here we go. It was a generally decent sized place. I had no complaints about it. And yeah, just don't expect too much in terms of the size of the place. It was generally decently sized. It was just that bottom half there. It wasn't the whole building. I didn't have a parking space. That was the owner of this unit that we were staying in. That was the place. It's pretty nice. I have to say it was really really good. Let's see. So yeah, that was the place that I stayed at. It's just so clean there. It's really really amazing how the upkeep of Japan is. You really can't describe it in words. You have to experience it. I'm showing another picture here because just of like the road that I was walking down near my my Airbnb. It's just so clean. You don't find places like this clean in Canada. And I've been to the States, so I haven't found places this clean even in the States. You do find some clean places, but just not generally all over. So that being said, I went down there, went to Odawara, and I got a mutual friend of mine by the name of Ken. You guys will know him on Instagram. You could look him up as Captain Bradford. He drove us around in regards to checking out Japan. And hopefully you don't hear my kid too much. I'm actually going to restart up in a second. Just a short break. We are back from our short break. dad life. Just have to work around it, so to speak. In any case, as I indicated, I met up with our mutual friend and the a friend I was also staying with. His name was Ken, also known as Captain Bradford. I have a picture here just to show you. This was at the beach. Um, that's another thing. I went during March. The beach was perfect. The weather was perfect. So don't expect anywhere close to the weather that you'd see in um, in Canada or the States. I guess you could say the Midwest or um, the like kind of Northeast. It's nothing like it. It really is like island weather. Like there's super cold at the top, super uh, as you go further south. So we met up with him, and he initially took us to a place where everyone wants to go. I have a picture here to show you as well. For people that are listening to the podcast, I really would like for you guys to watch the video if you can. It'll be also uploaded on Spotify in video form, so you'll be able to see it there. But I'm about to show the my mecca of places that I wanted to one of the places that I wanted to see in Japan is actually the main place I actually wanted to see in Japan, and that is da 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 Mines. I got to go to the Mines workshop, a tuning factory. I met Nakura-san and Nakayama-san. I, I honestly couldn't be any happier. It was one of the most amazing experiences I ever had in my life. I would never have thought I would have got the chance to meet Nakura-san and Nakayama-san on that trip. Mines was just an amazing place to be at. I got to see I'm gonna show it this way. It's a little easier. See here. I got to see what do you call it? The engine building room. I got to see how many RB20 cylinder heads they had. That was next level. Like honestly, just next level. Look at all that. Look at all those RBs there, perfectly waiting to be used. It was I don't even know how to really explain it. It was really next level. And then it was just a treat having Ken, Captain Bradford, there to basically, show us around and show us, sorry, translate everything. It was really great. This was a picture of Nakayama-san and Ken showing us some of the parts that they had already in stock. It was just amazing. It really was. And, I think I have a picture of me with Nakayama-san, as well as our mutual friend that I also met in Japan that I was staying with for a part of the trip. We were standing in front of the engines here. Yeah, like you can't put a price on this. You really can't. Uh, I think I have even a picture with the mine's CEO and owner, Nakura-san. I'm trying to see if I have that somewhere here. I'm sure I do. Just it's I got a plethora of pictures here that it's too much. To be honest, it's just too much. The cool thing is, right after we were hanging out with Nakayama-san, Nakura-san came in. We took some pictures with him, and he asked Ken to ask us if we wanted to see the Mines demo R34 and 35. Of course, we were like, yeah, they weren't at the shop. So I can say that I had the prestigious, I guess you could say, experience that Nakura-san, sorry, actually asked us to come to his private storage yard and see those cars. I um I don't even know what to say. Like it was next level. Like I couldn't believe I was there. Like at Nakura-san's um home, basically, to see these cars. I'm gonna share a picture here. Just see here. It was next level to go there and take in what I consider my version of like Japan's national treasures. There we go. There is Nakura-san. There's Nakayama-san. Um, our other friend. He goes by, I believe, Boring R34 on Instagram now. Um, and you can literally see like there's the R34, mine's R34. Like that was a great experience, guys. And these are the treasures that I'll always have that'll last a lifetime for me. So yeah, I was able to go see mines. I had a blast. I met saw some cars that I usually see on Instagram. One being this fellow here. He goes by, I think Mines R32. He gets all his parts from Mines. And I followed him on Instagram before I left for Japan, and he was there. He was there. It was so wicked. Like just to see his car. I messaged him instantly right after. He had just left the car there. But yeah, that was another experience that was really awesome. So I think I'm gonna have to break this Japan trip into two podcasts. So I'm gonna end with this. Right after we went to Mines, I think this was right after. Don't quote me on this, but I can't remember the exact timeline. It was 3 years ago. But right after we went to Mines, Captain Bradford, took us on a road trip up the Hakone skyline and to the lookout in Hakone. And that honestly was like too awesome. It was kind of hard to describe going there. And then when we reached the top of the summit of the mountain of Hakone Mountain, we met a group of older Japanese gentlemen that had some cars that were in meticulous condition. Meticulous condition. One being a Fair Lady 2000, the beginning before the Z. I'll show you this one as well. It's a white Fair Lady 2000. I never thought I'd ever get to see this Datsun. It was so clean with Watanabes on the as his wheels. It was too awesome. Look, if you could to describe it, the body lines. It was a convertible, first of all. It had the fender mounted side mirrors. The lights were super clean. It was too nice. That was one of the gentlemen. The next gentleman um was a gentleman with a one my favorite Porsche, the Porsche 964. I think it was a 964. I'm pretty sure it's a 964. Don't quote me on that. Sometimes I'm pretty bad with my Porsche references. It's either a 964 or a 930. I think it might be actually a 930. Sorry, but they're very similar in body style, so that's the reason for my error, if so. But this car was so clean, it literally looked showroom worthy. It looked like it just came off the showroom. Like you could eat off the engine bay. It was that clean. That was another vehicle that I never thought I'd see in such a mid condition. I think it might be a 964 to be honest with you. Just the way the exterior like fenders, the back fenders, they're so wide, and I love that about the old Porsches. It's just super wide. I'm showing that right now. Like, look at that. That thing is amazing. And of course, in the standard black back of the day, looks exactly like the Blackbird from Wangan Midnights, as you can see. Of course, it had to be my dream spec dream car, which obviously I have an R32 GTR, but this was the original goal. I don't know if it's ever going to happen now, but a R34 GTR V-Spec tuner in showroom condition. Showroom condition. This car was fantastic looking. I'm showing the picture of the back right now. It even has a Nürburgring decal on there. Like it is so clean. And he has the Nismo diffuser at the bottom. It's in white. Has the side spats. I think he has a Nismo. I think it's called Anyone exhaust. Like it was done to the nines. It was super clean. I'm gonna show you a front picture of this car as well. Like this car was looked way too good. It was amazing. Had even the R-Tune, I think it's the R-Tune hood, but the V-Spec hood, sorry, with the the intake duct. Like it's beautiful. I gotta keep speaking because if otherwise I'm just gonna be in shock and awe and go silent. I I love seeing that. And as I said, Japan's just a meticulously respectful and humble place. Their people are just so nice. Like my experience, I didn't have a bad experience with any Japanese person there. And that being said, they offered because he knew I loved GTRs. They offered to drive us to come for us to stay, come down. Sorry, to come back in a little bit in the evening and stay and go for a toge run with them. And the other guy with the Fair Lady 2000, he's a Z guy, obviously with the Fair Lady. He was saying he's going to bring his S tuned Z also for us to try. And we could have tried each one of those cars, a 930 or a 964, the V Spec tuner, and the GTR. It was just an amazing, amazing experience. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay there to do that because we were actually heading up to Murayama that night, I believe, to go to stay at Izakaya, Ryokan, sorry, not Izakaya. Izakaya is a bar. Ryokan with a hot spring that we could try out that part of Japanese tradition and culture. But man, yeah, I got to get myself back to Japan just to meet those guys. Hopefully, they're still in good health. They're pretty old gentlemen. They're really old school car enthusiasts. Sat there smoking cigarettes like crazy and driving these super, super clean cars. But yeah, that was amazing. So I'm going to end it here, but this is not the full end. I'm going to do another addition to this to give you some more intake of my Japan trip because I do have more to say. This is just obviously for both of these episodes, going to be a brief overview of what, or like an overview, not brief, but not as densely detailed as all the things I did, but just to give you understanding of what you have the potential to do in Japan and what potential there is. So the last thing I'd probably say is if you can, get a tour guide. Get a tour guide. I realized that was one of the things. Luckily, I had a friend that had friends that were showing us around, but get a tour guide. If you can get somebody who is into car culture, get one of them because they can probably show you car culture and other cultural aspects of Japan to get you really inundated in what you're experiencing there. But yeah, that being said, I'm going to end the episode here. Tune into the next episode. Today is 10th, so it'll be February 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or any comments, please send them to me through YouTube or Spotify on all the platforms. The tag for the podcast is a Real One Garage, and the handle for Instagram and YouTube, all platforms, is Real One Garage. REAL1 Garage. GARAGE. So till next time, peace out, guys.